creating replicatable processes for as many parts of the business as possible. If somebody disappeared tomorrow on your team, could you replace them with somebody and hand them something and say, this is exactly how you do what you need to do? One thing that, I think is important that you all are big supporters of is just the whole idea of the virtual assistants. And we actually, have changed that vernacular in the company. We call them our international team members, right? Just because I think once we classify them as virtual assistants, it kind of brands them. And so I would think about changing that vernacular up. Obviously, to kind of explain it to a client's one thing, but within a team, you're right, there are international teammates, international team members. And so, I found that vibe really settles well. But one of the things we've done has been able to take our margins from in that 5-6% range up to that 10 to 12% range. And that's really focusing on our SG&A costs, which is essentially the overhead or fixed expense of salaries. And so, we started approximately 4 years ago with our first international team member, and we did it for bookkeeping purposes. And we got somebody with a 4-year degree in accounting for like $7 an hour, right? And, it was great, right? Our books are being kept by an accountant, right? And this is our bookkeeping being done by an accountant for $7 an hour. And then slowly but surely, we're like, well, hey, I'm curious, what other positions. And by the way, we have like close to 30 to 40 now on our team. So I didn't count that in our employee pool, but we have 60 in the US and then another 30 to 40 international teammates. And so we then expanded it to all of our admin done. So every work order that comes in is being entered by somebody that's either in India or the Philippines or Kenya. And then we were like, oh, you know what? Invoicing can be done that way. And then a lot of our project managers need to do lots of estimates, right? I mean, we're doing 5 to 100 to 1,000 jobs a week, and it's a lot of estimates we have to write. Even something as simple as typing in the address and client name and all that on the estimate, which is wasted time for our project managers, our international team members serve that up. So they're kind of presetting every single estimate that's written and handing it over. So we're saving time from our, higher income earning, team members to somebody that's making, $5 to $7 an hour, right? And so it allows us to focus on that. And then this year, for the first time ever, we took this step and said, we were always getting backed up on the number of phone calls, right? We make over 1,000 calls a day out of our office, right? Like we make so many calls that when we call you, it says spam likely, and we're a legit business. It's literally trying to set up appointments. That's how many calls we make. And we're like, to staff that was crazy. And the worry was like, hey, what type of level of pronunciation can we have from our international team members? But we were able to find people that had unbelievable ability to speak clearly English. And now we've got 11 of those that, help us scale that side of the business. Now we are approaching the business of, hey, what are anything that we can do, right? That we can add that piece on. And instead of paying, 40, 50, 60K a year, you can pay 10K a year. And by the way, some people are like, oh, it's not American. Well, hey, these are people too, right? And we're paying these people 5 to 7 an hour, right? This is life-changing to them, right? Like I literally give somebody a 25 or 50 cent raise and have watched people break down and cry in the review process, right? I mean, and by the way, every one of them takes a CVI before they ever get an interview, right? Just like every other style, every other position, they have to take the CVI first. But, you give them a 50 cent raise and they're like, some of them get promoted to a supervisory position. They get $1.50 raise and they're like, I can live in a house now, right? The type of impact that these people have, it's awesome, right? To know that their quality of life, just the standard of living is totally different. And we win because you don't have the payroll tax. It's 100% tax deductible, right? And you don't have the healthcare insurance and all that type of stuff. It doesn't translate overseas the same. So there's a lot of wins there. for everybody, right? And now that we have so many, it's all word of mouth now. We say, hey, we need to hire, and we'll get 30 or 40 resumes because they're like, man, all my other friends are making $3 an hour. I'm making 5 to 7. And everybody that they know wants to work for the company that they work with because we actually pay them more than what they're typically earning. So, so that's been, that's been a pretty phenomenal piece of the puzzle for us and being able to scale that. And by the way, there's some higher end talent that you might pay even more than that. We have people that can go up to 9 or 10, but it does vary depending on the type of task. So that's been a big part. The other thing is creating replicable processes for as many parts of the business as possible, right? If somebody disappeared tomorrow on your team, could you replace them with somebody and hand them something and say, this is exactly how you do what you need to do, right? And we took our entire company and broke down literally everything that we do, from sending an email to a client to entering an order to writing an estimate, and created an entire process roadmap to every single department that we have, exactly how those work. And then, twice a year we go back through and update because things are evolving constantly as our business evolves. So, having that set up in place where it sets us up for success when we need to train somebody new, or if somebody decided to leave one day, we're not put in a position of weakness, and the business can continue to thrive and run.